So The Flash turns out to be a big bomb in the box office. Let's go and talk about it. So The Flash is actually underperforming in the box office, making numbers this opening weekend less than what Black Adam had made. Which there's a couple of reasons to why this is happening, and I'd love to get into that in this video. But before I do, make sure you guys comment down below what you guys think of the reasons why this movie is underperforming, and also on top of that, if you've seen the movie, comment down below what you liked or disliked about the movie. I personally thought The Flash was a very solid DC film. I really liked it a lot. But that's not to say that this film did not have its issues when I was watching it. And I was reading these articles, and there was a couple of things I was thinking about in terms of this movie. So, number one, first reason as to why this movie may be underperforming, that's because of the changes in the DC universe. After this movie, this universe that we've established, these characters that we barely got to know, we don't even have that much of an emotional connection to, we're moving on from it. Rebooting the franchise, so it's not like we were super connected to these characters anyways, as they didn't get their own movies prior to Justice League. Most of them didn't, outside of characters like Wonder Woman. But you never got the chance to fully experience this universe. It never felt like a connected universe. It never felt coherent, and it never felt like it had a coherent narrative. And without it having a coherent narrative, it was doomed to fail. And that's something that Marvel was very good at doing from the beginning. It had phase 1. It worked out very well. Then they moved on to phase 2, phase 3, and then phase 4 felt like the ultimate point in Marvel. Or I'm sorry, not phase 4. Phase 3. Or wait, what phase of Marvel are we at? Sometimes I don't even know anymore, but my point being is that they always had something led up to each other. They always felt connected. They always felt joined together. They always felt like they had everything together with these stories, these characters. They had these characters realized. That's something that DC's not doing, and they haven't been doing for a while. Outside of movies that had nothing to do with the DC universe, we haven't had outstanding like DC movies. We just have not. So people are already not that invested, and then come to find out that they're rebooting it anyways. What's the point of watching this movie, right? Number two, the second reasoning being, you guessed it, visual effects. The visual effects in this movie are terrible. Absolutely terrible. Like, I cannot believe how bad some of the effects were in this movie. With a budget of $200 million, the movie looked like hot garbage a majority of the time.
This world must die. No!
Which Andy Muschietti tried to defend this movie and saying, oh, most of the CG choices were intentional. Wrong. You're wrong. Said that, oh, it's from Flash's perspective, so now everything's going to look right. We had scenes that had nothing to do with the Flash's perspective, and the movie still didn't look that good. The only scene that was a stylistic choice that I can say worked was in that Coliseum within the Speed Force. When he would go in there and see all the memories and stuff, that looked intentional. I dug it. A lot of people may not dig it, and I understand why it doesn't look that great, but I dug it. And there were some scenes where the Flash was running that I thought looked really cool. Like the opening shot of him running and he's getting in the pose and he starts running. I thought that looked really good.
Oh my God! Flash!
Hi.
I love you!
Thank you.
Passing you into Mr. Wayne.
No, please don't.
I need you here now, Barry.
And it really showed the speed of the Flash. But there were a lot of moments in this movie that didn't look good. The desert scene looked atrocious a majority of the time, and people were not having it. And this movie had so many changes down to the last minute that the VFX artists did not have the proper time to make this movie look like the quality that they needed it to look like. So I don't blame this on the VFX artists at all. This is not a problem with them or their talent. It's just simply due to studio decisions that could not be made on time, and they just pushed the movie out. They said just shove it out. I would have personally have waited a year to make sure everything looks great, because this is supposed to be your baby right here. But I can see why they pushed it out, because they're also just trying to get out the way, jump into James Gunn stuff, right? So we have oversaturation in the superhero market as well. Whereas I remember growing up, I would maybe get about 1 or 2 superhero movies in a year, if that. We're getting 3, 4, 5, including TV shows. And this isn't just from Marvel alone. This is from DC as well. And when you oversaturate the market like that, it does become a bit stale, and it becomes harder for you to grasp people and have them just bring them in, because then you gotta really show to your audience why you should watch this superhero movie when there's 1,000 others in this year. And that's a major problem, and that's probably another reason why this film is not performing super well as well. And plus, the month that's released as well. Back to back for 3 weeks straight, we had Across the Spider-Verse, next week Rise of the Beasts, next week The Flash.
That's a lot of fish.
Those are all blockbusters right there, and are all back to back. That release schedule made this movie screwed as well. So it wasn't going to make its money back. Whether they wanted to think it would beat out the other ones or not, it wasn't going to make its money back. Also, the type of audience you're going for. You have a character like Michael Keaton's Batman, which people said, oh, that's going to be enough to draw in the audience. Not a younger audience. You got to understand, people who grew up with Michael Keaton's Batman are going to be in their 30s right now. Those people are going to like that. A lot of people who are around my age are not going to know who the heck Michael Keaton's Batman is.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
The only reason why I knew was because I watched the DVDs growing up. I did. And that's the only reason why I know, and I have that sense of nostalgia. They're trying to touch into that with audiences who didn't grow up with that version of Batman, and that's not going to have the type of audience that you want to reach out to. The only, there's a major difference with Spider-Man because that released in 2002. A lot of people were born in that era, the younger people, and for them, that's their nostalgia. So it works better for them.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Batman was back in the 80s. That's not for the young people. So this movie had a lot going against it. Also, the Ezra Miller controversies was also a big factor to play in.
You learn it? Did you want to fight? Is that the deal?
Whoa, bro.
Fight?
So this movie, there are several reasons why it bombed in the box office. And it's really unfortunate because this movie, I think, was really solid. It had finished CGI, and had some things been streamlined a bit more, this probably could have been one of the best comic book movies of all time.